Welcome, Pewter Report readers, listeners, and viewers to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, Energized by Celsius. It was an awesome Tuesday because we got to speak to Jason Licht with the NFL draft just 9 days away. So we will get into a ton of coverage of what Jason Licht spoke about, where we think the Bucs might go in this draft. We will get to all of that on this episode. But first, my name is Matt Matera, and joined with me is the man that runs the place, Scott Reynolds, and J.C. Allen, a man that since he's joined Pewter Report has been a flash of lightning, a great addition, and just rounding out the entire PR squad of the Avengers. So, gentlemen, how are we doing since I last saw you?
It's like Christmas.
Excellent.
It's like Christmas. I can't wait. Like the countdown's on. I'm eating a little piece of chocolate every single day. The advent calendar, the draft advent calendar. I can't wait. I mean, what do you like better? Wedding season, Christmas season, or draft season? Draft season. Let's go.
I'm past chocolate. I'm going to just do shots until draft weekend gets here. That's more
fun.
A
little Crown Royal. Well, Scott, you're an old-fashioned guy, but a little Crown Royal for Bruce Arians, who we found out is going to be in the draft room, the war room, as they say.
He's going to be playing bartender, from what I understand. So that's a role that he had at Virginia Tech, and a role that he has played after games. And no, I kid, but he's going to be there in a different capacity. This is Todd Bowles' show when it comes to the coaching side of things. General Manager Jason Licht and Todd Bowles, they're going to go through all the scenarios. I think one of the key things today he said was there's not going to be any fights, right? They're going to map out all of the possible scenarios for all of the players that they expect to be on the board at that time in every round. So when you do 98% of the work ahead of the time, like when we pre-write our stories, right, it's easier to hit publish when know news is going to break.
Thank you, Pat O'Connor. Had that one pre-written. That news was last week, but a little behind the scenes for Bucs fans. Sometimes we get our stories written a little beforehand if we expect a signing to come within the next couple of days. So hopefully Dominican Sue will be the next one. That'll be very nice. But guys, I thought there was a lot to take away from this press conference. And let's understand.
But Matt, Harvinder doesn't agree. He says, I listened to the press conference. He didn't say that much. That's kind of true, but you got to read between the lines. That's why we're here.
Right. Exactly. Scott and JC, what I was going to say really is, listen, Jason Licht is not going to go in there and be like, all right, guys, we don't have a 5th and 6th round pick, but I've been talking to Seattle and we're trying to get a deal with Denver as well, too. And we're going to do a 3-team trade so we can get our 5th pick back for the trade that we pulled off with the Patriots and getting Shaq Mason. Like, he's not going to say, okay, this is definitely what we're going to do. He's not going to say, okay, I'm in love with this specific player. He might say he likes a guy or two, and the Bucs have obviously had a lot of meetings, but he's not going to reveal too much because that's just bad strategy. But for what he could give us, for little pieces of information that we're looking for to, give to you, the readers, viewers, and listeners, I thought there was enough to take away where, you're already excited for the draft, but I think it brings it up another notch just from what Jason told us today.
Yeah, I kept it super vanilla. I asked him about 2 defensive line prospects, because everyone wants to know about the deal. And he's like, yeah, we brought them in. They're good players. We'll evaluate. So super vanilla. He's not going to give you anything. We all poked and prodded. What about the tight ends, the running backs, linebackers? Well, we got KJ Britt and Grant Stewart. Well, that's not what we want. Have you looked at Troy Anderson? Have you looked at JoJo Dalman? What about maybe a David Ajabo if he falls, or Devin Lloyd? But no, he wasn't giving us any of that. And that's to be expected. He doesn't want to, show his cards. But I like Matt said, and Scott said, body cues, mannerisms, the way he addresses certain things. I think he told us a little bit more if you really read between the lines.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I kind of picked up on that I'll share with you real quick. Just knowing Jason, and sometimes it's what he says, what he doesn't say, and then how he says it, right? And we've all kind of talked about the Buccaneers possibly drafting a guard, right? Boston College's Zion Johnson, if he's there. It's interesting. We've seen some mocks with Kenyon Green from Texas A&M, the other first-round caliber guard, although he really hasn't been linked to the Buccaneers much, right? He, at the combine at least, he said that he didn't interview with the Buccaneers, and that was early in the process. He might have interviewed the next day or something, but we don't know that he's been in for a top 30 visit, for example. So, we're just not sure about that. But the interesting thing that he did say about the guard position, and And they've already filled Shaq Mason's, got that right guard spot locked up because they traded for him when Alex Kappa departed in free agency. But the left guard, he mentioned 3 names, and he mentioned in order Aaron Stinney, Nick Leverett, and Robert Hainsey. Why is that important? Well, because they invested a 3rd-round pick in Hainsey last year, and they moved him from right tackle where he played at Notre Dame to center. And he spent the entire year playing center. They're going to cross-train him at guard now. I asked Jason Licht about that at the NFL owners meeting down there in West Palm, and he said, yeah, they're going to put Hainsey in the mix. That was to be expected. But you have 3 guys there that will compete at that spot. So that's 3. And they like Nick Leverett a lot. And if you notice the order in which Jason Licht said that, he's thinking about the depth chart in his office where it stands right now. And Nick Leverett is ahead of Robert Hainsey. Why? Because Leverett played guard, not Hainsey, last year in Indianapolis when Marpet was out.
Right.
And then you also have to consider that Hainsey was a 3rd-round draft pick. They're not going to give up on a 3rd-round draft pick. They're not going to cut him when they haven't seen what Hainsey can do yet. Plus, Hainsey's the backup center. So Hainsey's going to make this team, but right now Leverett is ahead of Hainsey. That could change. But rewind back to training camp. There was a lot of talk about Nick Leverett. Nick Leverett played left tackle and in I believe the Bengals game. He started at center, I think, in the 3rd preseason game. Yeah. And at least saw some snaps there. Then he played guard. This is a guy who's probably the most versatile offensive lineman on the team. That's really a guard, but can play center and also tackle. I think he's also going to make the team. So when you add it up, that's Shaq Mason, that's Ryan Jensen, that's Aaron Stinney, who is number 1 on the list, the guy that has the most experience to start. There's 3. Then you add in Leverett and Hainsey. That's 5. That's 5 interior offensive linemen. Then you bring in Fred Johnson, who's probably going to be a tackle, but can also play guard. That's 6. Oh, let's not forget Tristan Wirfs, right? 7. And Donovan Smith, that's 8. Now you bring in Josh Wells, who this team loves as a versatile swing tackle. That's 9. That's 9 offensive linemen right there. I'm not saying they're not going to draft Zion Johnson. I'm just saying if it's between Zion Johnson and a defensive player at a position of need, or if a wide receiver like Chris Olave or Treylon Burks is there, it's not a slam dunk they take a guard, because I think they already have enough able bodies there right now.
I think, too, if you look at the way the draft, and obviously we've all done mocks, we've all played around with the scenarios. If you draft a guard, it kind of puts you in this weird pigeonholed spot in the 2nd and 3rd rounds when there are good guard prospects there. Now, you can say you just drafted a guard, center, whatever, in Hainsey last year. Do you want to invest another same pick, or would you rather get like a 1st round? I think that plays into it too, where you're looking at Cole Strange, Dylan Parham, Sean Ryan. There's a lot of players in that 2nd to 3rd round that could play guard, that you could address a defensive need or a wide receiver or a different need at those selections, especially in the 1st round, and still come away with a good interior offensive lineman if you wanted to. So it's
JC, that's a great point. And Matt, let me ask you.
Yeah.
If Zion Johnson, if he's the number 1 pick, right? If he's picked at number 27 for the Buccaneers, Jason Licht talked about wanting to have an instant impact from that player. If you're drafting a player in the 1st round, they're expected to see the field, right? You can get away with that drafting Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, who saw time in the defensive end rotation. You're not going to draft a guard and rotate.
There's no rotating the offensive line unless a player is playing really bad or that offensive lineman gets injured. And Scott, to your point, and JC's to your point as well too, Jason Licht, every general manager is going to have some great picks and some bad ones. But some of the best, not even going to say picks, I'm going to say findings. Some of the best findings that Jason Licht has been those diamond in the rough offensive linemen. So that's where I could see even some of the players you mentioned. I mean, we can go back to just drafting small school guys, whether it's Ali Marpet or Alex Kappa. Jason Licht could very likely either draft an offensive lineman later in this draft than what we're planning on, or find another undrafted free agent that he brings in and at least competes for that spot. Because, there's an opportunity or a situation in which they draft Zion Johnson and then Aaron Stinney clobbers him and earns that starting guard position.
Yeah, and then your first round pick is sitting on the bench for the entire season, not helping your team. That's why I'm more inclined to see this team draft a safety that can rotate on the field. They could draft a defensive tackle. Even if Sue comes back, they could rotate on the field. A wide receiver like a Burks or Olave who could see some action, Yeah. So I think today when I heard Jason Licht say that, because it could have been very easy for him to say, oh, yeah, we've got Aaron Stinney, who helped us in the Super Bowl and a couple other guys. No, he took the time to mention in order Aaron Stinney, Nick Leverett, and Robert Hainsey. And that to me was significant. And he also talked about wanting the first round pick to see the field. And like you said, Matt, if Zion Johnson is drafted, he didn't come in to beat Aaron Stinney. No. What's the point?
And they also have Sedarius Hutchinson, too, who they're high on before he got injured as well. So there's also another name already in there. John Molchon. I don't really count him as much because I don't think
he's got to get healthy. He gets hurt all the time. I mean, he's only been here 2 years, and he gets hurt all the time. So,
but he keeps sticking around.
2 years, but I think if anyone has a chance, and I think even Scott in your battle plan, you had Hutchinson making the team as the last offensive lineman. So they've got players, they've got pieces, they've got some undrafted guys, as Matt just said, that we'll be highlighting next week that they could maybe look to that are Bucs fits. So I just don't. As much as you guys know, I love Cole Strange. I would love Cole Strange on this team. I just don't know. And I think today reassured me that unless the board falls a certain way where that is the best player available and they think he can help the team, I don't see it happening early in the draft. And we know Light will want to probably move around and fill that void between the 133 and 241. Do they grab someone there? Maybe. But I don't see it happening in the first 3 rounds.
And I think this could be the first instance where we will see a little bit of a shift or a difference with having Todd Bowles as the head coach and the quote unquote final decision maker besides Jason Licht himself. Because we know, regardless of, he's coaching the whole team, at the end of the day, if Bruce Arians is calling the shots, he's going to sway towards picking an offensive guy a little bit.
That's where Todd Bowles,
Where Todd Bowles on the other side, he's going to sway a little bit more towards, we got that defensive tackle that we like there. Let's go pick him. Oh, there's that safety. I love safeties. I'm the safety whisperer.
Yeah.
BA is the QB whisperer. Todd Bowles is the safety whisperer. So I think that could be the first instance where we see a little bit of a difference in just direction of that head coaching in general.
One guy, and Harvinder brings it up, who's not going to have any input in the draft process that Light brought up, was Tom Brady. And because after Jalen Darden last year, I think it's safe to leave Tom Brady's evaluating skills on the sideline this year.
To be fair, we're not going to label Tom Brady as the guy who drafted Jalen Darden. They drafted him, and then they let him look at the film. They said, "What do you think of this?" And Tom's like, "Oh, he looks really good," But I agree. I don't think Tom Brady's going to be anywhere near the Advent Health Training Center until mandatory minicamp. I mean, I just wrote about that on pewterreport.com. Jason Licht addressed it today, and I'll read you that quote because will Brady show up, right? That was one of the questions that was talked about. He said, constant communication he and Todd have had with that. It's voluntary right now. He's going into his 23rd season, obviously knows how to take care of himself during this voluntary portion. I know he and Todd have had several conversations about that. No worries whatsoever. No, there's no worries. Tom Brady has not attended an OTA since 2017 in New England.
Yeah.
He bailed on the last 2 years in New England.
This was Jason Light's kindest way of saying, who cares? Like, he'll be here. He'll be here when he needs to be here. Who cares? It's not a story.
The last couple of years, he hasn't brought the guys up to Montana with him. I'm curious to see if Godwin and Evans and Gage make the trip up to Montana this year.
I don't know about Godwin. He's still rehabbing. That might be a little tricky there. Yeah.
Probably not Godwin. Stay rehab. But maybe Evans will make it up there. I don't know if he's been watching Yellowstone. It's not Colorado, but
that's right. It's snowing up there right now, isn't it? I mean, we saw Green Bay at least. The Packers reporting for duty in the snow. But listen, really, what that means, guys, is let me just get a better picture here. Full on Blaine. There's your QB1 right now at the Advent Health Training Center.
Did he get rid of the ball there, or did he get what happened after this play right here?
I think he was rifling a pinpoint lasered pass to a receiver, standing tall in the pocket. And I think you saw probably number 58 bounce off Blaine and say, I'm sorry, I won't do that again, sir. That's probably what happened.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Look at the flow hanging out the back of the helmet too. Just
I know.
So
it's good
we
flow.
did see real quick. We just spoke on it for a brief moment that Jason talked about the kind of the influence, or will the influence and draft philosophy change with Todd Bowles in there? And he also spoke about Bruce Arians having him in the war room in a different role this time. I'm just going to play a little quick video.
Bartender.
As the bartender. Quick video from Jason Licht speaking today at the press conference.
The philosophy hasn't changed. It's just been meeting more with Todd now as the head coach, more one-on-one and more in some group settings too. Bruce has still been involved. He's been in our meetings. I meet with Bruce, periodically, and he's going to be involved here as we put the final touches on our draft too. So nothing, our philosophy hasn't changed. We still want to bring in really good players. Yeah, Bruce, I'll have Bruce in there. It'll be, we get most of our work, 98% of it done before the draft starts. So we kind of know what's going to happen. Well, we know what we will do in all scenarios. So it will be no different.
Yeah, so a lot. Yeah, and there's another part of that video too that's not pictured there, where Jason was talking about how there's going to be no fighting in the war room, no fighting at all whatsoever. And Jason was asked about too, just, what's the philosophy of picking a player that he might be high on that maybe Todd Bowles doesn't absolutely love. And he pretty much said, listen, I'm not going to pick a player that my coach absolutely hates. That's just, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, but
it's not fair to the player.
It's not fair to the player. It's never, it's never going to work out. And I think that's just the beauty and the joy of just this Bucs front office, even with the succession plan of Bruce leaving and Todd Bowles in here, is there's such a great relationship between Jason Licht and Bruce, and Jason Licht and Todd Bowles, that sure, I would imagine every single team runs into this issue, but it's not going to be a problem for the Bucs, and there's not going to be that power struggle. Like, Bruce is going to be firmly fine, and as Jason said, they're doing 98% of the work goes on right now. So Bruce is getting much more acclimated to his new role on this team.
That's right. Speaking of Bruce, this might be a good time to let you all know where Bruce will be, aside from the War Room on draft weekend. Next weekend, he's going to be hosting the 8th annual Arians Family Foundation Golf Classic. That is at Innisbrook here in Tampa. And last year, and I can't say who's going to be there this year, but last year, Todd Bowles was there. A lot of coaches were there. General Manager Jason Licht was there. And,
some guy named Tom Brady.
Tom who? Who was there? Tom Brady was there.
Yeah.
Rob.
The clothing designer. Tom
Rob,
Brady.
who?
Jason Pierre-Paul?
Rob Gronkowski. He was there.
Yeah.
Jason Pierre-Paul was there. Exactly. So
Chase Rice performed too?
Chase Rice did perform. Yeah. So this is a fantastic event, and all the benefits from this great event go towards the Arians Family Foundation, which is a fantastic charity. Really operates in Tampa and in Arizona. They do each of these type of tournaments, one in Arizona, one in Tampa. So the great thing is all the Tampa proceeds go to the Tampa Bay area and benefit several charities, including CASA, which is a big one that the Arians are solely behind. So here's what it takes. If you want to play with Arians and all of the star-studded people that are going to be in this tournament, and it's the 24th and 25th of April, $2,500. It includes one spot, includes the Sunday night gala dinner, which will be there as well. So if you see us and you recognize us as the Pewter Report staff, come up and say hello. We'd love to meet you. And there's also a concert, as JC mentioned, plus the Monday night golf reception after the event. And then the foursome price is $10,000. It includes a little bit more. You get 4 spots in the tournament, custom tee signings and tee markers, display area and premium backdrop, 4 passes to the Sunday night gala dinner and concert, and then 4 passes to the Monday night post-golf reception. Again, find out more on the AriansFamilyFoundation.com website. When you go there, click on events. There's a form to fill out. You'll download that, fill it out, and you can get set up for this weekend. Should be a great time to golf with Bruce Arians.
Yeah, it was so much fun going there last year, and we were at the gala part of it. And I think it's important to note as well, if you outside of the gala part, if you're a part of the golfing section of it, Brady and Gronk, that was all the gala. The golfing, they had Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, even more Bucs players. So if you want to see a pro athlete play another sport, like that's just another whole spectacle in itself. So yeah, could not recommend it more. Just a great cause and a very fun time. So go out there, get your tickets. And
Hey, fellas, real quick. Nate Pitt says that he's on Celsius Day 4,348 with Tropical Vibe. That's kind of funny because I'm drinking a Tropical Vibe today too.
Hey, look at that! Look at that!
Great.
I got the sparkling grapefruit going.
All right. So here's in the spirit of the draft, gentlemen. This is what I need to ask you guys. I'm putting you on the spot. You're not prepared. I mean, you already have the knowledge, right? You've already been scouting Celsius, so you know you've got a working knowledge, I think, of these flavors. But let's go ahead and just kind of ask away. Out of the vibes, out of the Celsius vibes, tropical vibe, peach vibe, and the new Arctic vibe flavor, which is this one right here, the Arctic berry flavor. It's fantastic. Just tried this the other day. It's already a top 5. But out of those 3 vibes, and Matt, we'll go with you first. You're on the clock. Which vibe do you draft?
It's very close. Very close between tropical and peach. I haven't had Arctic yet, but I got to go tropical. Again, I had it when we were at the NFL owners meetings in West Palm Beach. Quickly moved up the ranks. If it was a week beforehand, I probably would have said peach vibe, but you know, sometimes you just take that first or second sip and it hits you in a different way than you expected. Yeah. It's like Dameon Pierce, you know, went from a diamond in the rough to the worst kept secret at running back. Everyone loves him now. And that for me is the tropical vibe, or Christian Watson as well, too.
There you go. JC, how about you? You've tried all 3 now, right?
With tropical vibe off the board, we're going to field calls here. We're going to actually make a trade back in this situation because, you know, we don't feel comfortable with the choices at hand. Arctic vibe, a very solid player, but more of, you know, it's not a summery flavor like tropical vibe is. So with our pick here, we're trading back. We're getting out of the vibes. We're going to let you have your choice of the vibes.
Okay.
And we're going to take here the new strawberry lemonade.
We're
going to take the new strawberry lemonade flavor. I'll leave you to have your pick of the vibes because Matt scooped up, you know, with that first overall pick. Sometimes you lose.
Yeah, I should have traded up for Tropical Vibe. It is definitely one of my favorites. But as I mentioned, this late riser to our draft board, Arctic Vibe, folks, it's really good. And I highly recommend them. So out of all the vibes and out of all of the different Celsius flavors, they're getting to the point where there's just too many to choose from. And that's a great thing if you like Celsius. I even like the cola flavor. Bought one of those the other day. So if you haven't tried Celsius yet, what are you waiting for? Go to Celsius.com, click on the store locator, or you can click on the Pewter Report banners from Celsius that you see on our website and find some of those places that sell Celsius near you. Then go try some individually. Once you find the ones you like, buy them in bulk on Amazon and save money with the subscribe and save. That way they send them right to your door and you never run out. I'll tell you what, true story. I just got a notification from Amazon yesterday. Saturday's my birthday. And I have 5 cases of Celsius coming to me on Saturday. So that's already one birthday present on the way. So now I paid for it myself. I mean, it's not free. I bought it.
Hey,
but
there's nothing. Hey, there's nothing wrong with buying a gift for yourself. It's
right.
It's called treat yourself.
Absolutely.
You know, there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay. 7-Eleven too. That's where I've been finding those Arctic vibes.
7-Eleven, yes.
I don't know if that's where you found them, but they got the sneak peek.
Absolutely. Speaking of sneak peek, let's continue on with peeling back behind the curtains and peeking at what Jason Licht and the Bucs brass will do with the draft. What other things stood out to you guys from the press conference today? Again, Jason Licht didn't say a whole bunch. I think Harpender was right, but at the same time, you got to read between the lines. And again, as I was processing the whole guard thing, I just don't think they're going to be taking a guard this year for the reasons we've already kind of outlined.
JC, the floor is yours.
Yeah, you know, I really think they could be in the market for a trade down this season. And I know that, you know, Jason
trade back.
Yeah, trade down, trade back. Trade, yeah.
Okay. When you say trade down, I always kind of think of you're trading down the board, like you're getting closer to the first round.
Yeah. So a trade back in this
trading
instance.
back. Okay. Got it.
And Jason said today that, he hasn't really gotten into conversations. Not that he'd tell us anyways, that they usually heat up the week of and, a couple days before. But, looking at the way this board is falling, and he multiple times said, oh, you mean the way that you and the media have seen and fans have seen in like mock drafts and ratings. He's like, he's kind of throwing us out. You don't know what anyone's boards look like. Yeah. But I really think that this is a chance for them to trade down. Or trade back. Sorry. And I think they can acquire more picks. He's mentioned multiple times that the middle rounds of this draft was where he felt it was the strongest. They only have the third and the fourth. Obviously, they're missing the fifth and sixth. Late picks in those third and fourth rounds as well. So whether that's a trade back from the first pick or the 60th pick, I think that's where I'm looking at to see what they do. Obviously, if there's a transcendent player on the board or a player you think can help right away, go for it. But I think he's going to be probing a little bit more than normal. The problem is because of these rounds are so good in the middle rounds, and other GMs have identified that. Right. I don't know how much someone's going to want to give to move up into the first.
JC, you had a great story today on Jason Licht's trade history on draft weekend. Yep. Very, very well, very well done. Worth reading. So make sure you check that out on pewterreport.com. The interesting thing about the where the Bucs are positioned at number 27, Matt, and I think I was talking to John about this yesterday on the pod, is Matt, when you look at the fact that there could be a couple of quarterbacks taken before the Bucs pick at 27, right? Maybe 2 or 3. Jason thought it might be a little bit more because quarterbacks there's such a need, even though this is a crappy year for quarterbacks.
Right.
But I'm almost thinking that for the remaining quarterback or 2, whoever's left, let's not even spend time worrying about who it is, whether it's Desmond Ridder, Matt Corral, whoever, right? But what are the chances you think of a team that is picking at the early part of the second round, wanting to get up around number 27 to get a quarterback? Because the benefit, like Baltimore did, trading back up to number 32 in 2018, is the benefit is you get a quarterback with a 5th-year option, right? Instead of waiting for one of those guys to fall into the second round and he might not even be there. I almost think it's more advantageous to be this later in the draft because one of those teams that might want a quarterback and move up.
Yeah, because we were talking about that after Jason was done, where I think we both went, we kind of got a feeling that Jason's going to trade back because of his love for the middle round players. I'll make my point in a second, but we also have video of Jason talking about that he thinks this is going to be a really good middle of the pack draft, those third, fourth round type of picks.
Doing more and more work as we have in the last couple months, you start to get more and more excited about it. That happens every year with the draft. Initially, you think, well, maybe it's not going to be as strong, but it does look like a draft that's going to be. There's going to be some good players in the mid rounds for sure. Maybe not. There may not be 30 guys that you think are legit first round picks, but there's going to be a lot of good players in the middle rounds.
Man, he can't keep his eyes off whoever he was answering that question for.
So anyway, getting to the point, you talk about quarterbacks, and the Bucs probably aren't going to go quarterback, but never say never. Check out the Pewter Report Bucs best bets. But with that said, whether it's a great quarterback class or a terrible quarterback class, if there's just one quarterback that you are in love with, teams will trade and at many times overtrade to make sure that they get their guy, which plays right into the Bucs' hands of having a late pick at 27, acquiring some of those draft picks that they traded away. Scott, you brought up another great point earlier today where Jason kind of has a pattern of reacquiring the picks that he traded for other players. So in this case, they traded a 5th round pick to go get Shaq Mason from the Patriots. He would probably like to get that 5th pick back. Jason also talked about, and this isn't even a middle round pick, this is a 7th round pick, but he talked about the impact that guys like Grant Stewart and KJ Britt made on special teams this year, where you can still get a guy pretty late and can still have an impact on this team, even if it's not on offense or defense. And I think that's really important for this year's team when we talk about depth. I know we're not high on or what they'll do with the offensive line, because we just talked about all the players they have in-house. But the Bucs can still very much address, cornerback, edge, maybe that offensive line, maybe wide receivers. So by trading that 27th pick and then maybe picking up an extra 3rd rounder and getting a 5th rounder back or whatever it may be, there's a ton of reasons why the Bucs should do that.
Yeah. And JC, Matt brings up Grant Stewart's name, and really when you think of 7th round picks, they rarely make the team, right? They rarely do. But Grant Stewart is a player that led the Bucs in special teams tackles. Jason Licht has told me in the past that he thinks that Stewart is a player that you're familiar with, having been up there in Boston. Matthew Slater, a perennial Pro Bowl special teamer, he thinks Stewart can ascend to that type level as a special teams demon tackler, right? Getting down there and forcing fumbles and making splash plays on coverage units. Your thoughts on that and how valuable it would be to land a potential Pro Bowler in the 7th round? That's incredibly hard to do.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at the Pats, they've always had really good core special teams. Ryan Izzo is a linebacker, actually, that I could see him kind of working out as well, who made his name on special teams. But the thing that works in Grant Stewart's favor as well is, I mean, you're right. He made the team as a 7th pick, not just the 7th round pick, the last 7th round pick in the draft.
He was Mr. Irrelevant in the draft and Mr. Irrelevant for the Buccaneers, too. He was like number 53 on the roster.
But not Mr. Irrelevant in your hearts.
That's
but,
true.
I think his position versatility, too, in college helped him, too, because he played safety. He played multiple linebacker roles. So, I mean, having that capacity to learn different roles and different ways of, because I mean, if you're on the line, you're tackling a little bit, taking different angles than you were as a safety. So he's got all that stuff to help build him up as well. And I think he really could. I mean, you saw it last year. He was already one of the best special teamers on the team. And I think he can continue to build that. So when you're looking at these guys in the 7th round, and a lot of people right now, they want impact players. They want starters. They want a guy who can be a starter, a guy who can be maybe a rotational player, but you can't forget the developmental players too.
Right.
Guys who you develop and bring up and turn into studs. I mean, you look at some of the guys on this roster that are at the tops of their position: Ryan Jensen, 6th round pick; Shaq Barrett, undrafted free agent; Tom Brady, 6th round pick. Not that the Bucs develop those guys, but you just I mean, you never know.
It's a fantastic point.
Never know when you can find these guys. So recouping some of those picks in those later rounds, even if they're just for developmental pieces and don't see the field as much, maybe on special teams or end up on the practice squad with the new rules where they can elevate. I mean, it all works in your favor. And Jason Licht has been really good the past few years. And over his history, he's had some really good finds in the later rounds as well. Yeah. So hopefully they'll continue, working that, churning those picks out. And I think they can find another good. I think, looking at the 7th round, I think there's more players that can make impacts or that can develop into role players than normal years. And I think that's going to bleed into undrafted free agency. And part of that is because a lot of players returned for another year because of the COVID season. You talk about a guy that Cole Kelly with his super senior year, and Skylar
Thompson
State, super senior year because of the year of ineligibility and the year of the COVID. These guys are staying there for another year to improve that draft. Right. So it's going to be right throughout.
Yeah. You're also going to have, JC, an article. We do our position previews, right, folks? And we've done quarterbacks yesterday. JC did that. And then John did the running backs today. We also have our Bucs best bets in there. And we have wide receivers and tight ends and offensive line coming up later this week. Then we'll get into defense next week, which is the best side of the ball. But then you're also going to be doing a really interesting piece on some potential undrafted free agents. You're saying already these guys are not going to get drafted, but you're going to have that prior to the draft as well. So not just we have you covered with the Bucs best bets of if the Bucs are going to draft some guys, these are who we think that they might end up selecting. You're also going to say, hey, these are some guys after the draft to keep an eye on too, in case they don't get drafted. So we'll look for that. We got a great question here. Scott, who is your least favorite Bucs general manager to ask questions to? I only covered 4 of them, starting with Rich McKay back in the 90s when I started covering this team. So Rich McKay, and then you had Bruce Allen, which, Bruce Allen, a lot of people have had issues with. I didn't really have any problems with Bruce. I treated Bruce fairly. I know that when Rich McKay left, it kind of upset a lot of the local media members at the time, because they got a lot of scoop and insight from Rich. He spoon fed him a lot of their news, and that's fine. I mean, if someone's going to give you free information or free lunch, why not take it, right?
Right.
But the thing is I treated Bruce fairly. And was he the best general manager? Absolutely not. I think where he helped this team was he helped them kind of navigate some salary cap issues that Rich McKay got them into. Some salary cap hell, salary cap jail, whatever you want to call it. I think Bruce helped out in that respect. Bruce just couldn't evaluate talent at all. And I don't really think Rich could either. I think it was mostly Tim Ruskell on the personnel side, the pro personnel side. I'm sorry, the college side, and Jerry Angelo on the pro side back in the day. Mark Dominic had a great working relationship with him. And then Jason Licht. So I really didn't mind talking to any of them. I probably had the least bit of relationship with Rich McKay because I was a new reporter coming in 95. And at that time, a lot of the established media were already kind of there, and they were in their 40s and 50s and more relatable to Rich, I guess. So I didn't have a problem asking Rich questions. I just didn't have the relationship with Rich that I ended up having with Bruce, with Mark, with Jason since then. So that's the answer there.
We got a super chat. I would love to give more input, but I've only had Jason Licht since I started with Pewter Report. And hopefully it'll stay like that for a very long time with the Bucs.
Damn good
continuing
job.
to win.
Yeah.
But we got a super chat here from Corey Fleming. Thank you so much, Corey. And please, anyone, if you super chat, we will make sure we answer your super chat question right away. And please, let's get those thumbs up. It takes less than half a second to just get the thumbs up as you're watching this video. I know you're watching it right now. So it helps out our algorithm and helps out with a lot of stuff behind the scenes. But anyway, thank you, Corey.
Birthday.
Who?
Do it for Scott's birthday.
Yeah. Do it for Scott's birthday.
2 thumbs up for my birthday. There we go.
Yeah. So Corey says, if there's a wide receiver on the board at 27, do you take him? And which wide receiver could be there at 27? It depends, honestly, on what other positions are available at the moment. Who could be there? Like, I would love to say Treylon Burks, and I think we all love him because he hunts wild boar, but I don't necessarily with a knife, with his bare hands and a knife. If he's there, I would say, like, without question, take him. I really enjoy his game. I think he catches literally every single pass that comes his way. He's got great elevation. I think he's an absolute baller.
He's got the biggest hands of any wide receiver in this draft.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't necessarily think he'll be there, though. I think a more realistic option for a wide receiver that could be there, and this is a guy that I've really liked. He was my draft crush when we did the PR roundtable a couple of weeks ago, is Ohio State's Chris Olave.
Mm-hmm.
It's Garrett Wilson that's really getting a lot of the love and attention, but I think Olave, he was the guy that had the most touchdowns at Ohio State last season, and that's a very talented, star-studded group there. I like what he can do down the field. I think he's a playmaker when he gets the ball in his hands. I think he can work on some of the shorter and intermediate routes too. So he would be a guy, if he's there, I would love for the Bucs to take him. Would they necessarily go with the wide receiver early? I think so, but it really depends on the guy and what other positions are available at the moment.
All right, well, I'm going to stop you right there, guys, because I don't know if you guys heard this. I mean, you heard it because you were there. I did too. But sometimes when you go back and you listen to the interview, you kind of pick up on some things that you might have missed or some little nuances. And again, folks, you got to read between the lines sometimes, right? Because Jason Licht's not going to just tell you who they're going to draft or give you the draft board. He's not going to hand out copies in the media. You know, if you look on page 2, this is our day 3 guys. You know, it didn't happen that way.
Wish that'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. Yeah. So
people like get the list. Like, oh, that'd be so. Can we
but he called. He mentioned by name, and I'm not saying that this is the exclusive, end all be all 2 positions, but the 2 positions he mentioned today, and we kind of covered a lot of ground from defensive tackles to secondary to wide receivers to tight ends to running backs. We kind of asked him a gamut of those questions. The 2 positions that he said were premium positions were defensive tackle, obviously, and wide receiver. This is his quote. Of course, you've seen the premium this offseason, what teams are putting on receivers. We brought in Russell Gage, and we're excited about what Russell can add to our team. We've had some pretty good success with receivers here, developing them and taking the right ones. That's a little pat on the back there by Jason Licht, too, Jason Licht, and well-deserved. That's a tribute to our staffs working together here and the coaching, obviously. It's always a position that you'll look at. So he said, wide receiver, you're seeing the premiums there. And the other position was defensive tackle. And this is what he said. JC, you asked the question about the two defensive tackles that have been in to see the Buccaneers. And I'll let you talk about those guys in just a second. But what we're talking about is Logan Hall. Had a story up today. John put a story up on pewterreport.com. He was a top 30 visit. Also, Devontae White out of Georgia, who's been linked to a lot of Buccaneer mock drafts at number 27. This was the quote that Jason Licht said when you asked JC about those two defensive tackles. They're good players. You hear about them a lot in the media, and there's a reason why. They're good football players. They are at a premium position. We had good visits with them. So that's kind of my little takeaway there. And that's why I think, again, going back to what we said, JC, if you're drafting a player and you want to get him on the field, you're really rolling the dice if it's going to be guard. If it's Zion Johnson, he better start over Aaron Stinney. Otherwise, not going to help you this year in terms of seeing playing time. But you can draft a defensive tackle like a Devontae White. You can draft a wide receiver like a Treylon Burks or a Chris Olave at number 27, and they can see the field, right?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And I'd throw another position in there too. I think edge defender, a guy like Boye Mafe as well, who we didn't ask about. We don't know if he's coming for a visit or not, but those are the positions that you're looking at on this team. And maybe even safety. I think the safety room, there's room for one more, but I mean, those are the positions that you can use to bring guys in and have them see the field as rotational pieces that you're going to use a first-round pick on. Anything else, I think it's a guy who's got to wait, a corner. He's got to develop. He's behind Dean. He's behind Davis. So, especially the wide receiver position, so important in this offense. We saw firsthand how important it is to have quality wide receivers. Rashad Perriman's your number 4. If it's an injury or Godwin's not able to go, he's your number 3. And if one of those guys gets injured, we're back to Tyler Johnson being there as well. But
no love for Cyril Grayson.
No, Cyril Grayson, yes, great guy. Probably end up back on the practice squad. No offense, Cyril Grayson. But I think if you're looking at the wide receiver room, you can always add more. And a guy like Treylon Burks, a guy like Chris Olave, fit exactly what the Bucs can do. Treylon Burks is a mini Debo. I think he can do a lot of the same things he can do inside, outside versatility. Yeah. Chris Olave, he's a burner down the field. He's not going to get you a lot of yak, but he's a sure-handed receiver. So both of those guys can come in and contribute defensively on the defensive tackle side. Wyatt is a guy who is obviously played on a great line. A little bit of questions about his production. You brought this up, Scott, about 5 sacks in 4 years, and you'd like to see more. But again, he's a guy who can rotate in. I think they resigned Sue, but a guy who can rotate in and give you fresh legs and keep the older veterans from putting all that mileage on them. Same thing with Logan Hall. I think you move back a little bit to get him. I don't think he'll be there at 60. But a guy who can play 3-tech, 5-tech. He's got good pass rush. He plays with good pad level. He reminds me a lot of Will Golston. Not gonna lie,
he does. I think you know what? I'm having a little bit of a revelation here with Logan Hall coming in for a top 30 visit. JC, I think you nailed it. Matt, let me get your thoughts on this. They need to replace Ndamukong Suh, right? They need another 3-tech defensive tackle.
Right.
Will Golston is 30. He'll be 31 this year. He signed a 1-year deal, right? You're gonna have to replace both of those guys, I think, within the next 2 years. Probably Suh before Golston, but I'm just saying, Logan Hall can play 3-tech. He can also play 5-tech. At 6'6", you mentioned, JC, he resembles Will Golston. Will Golston's a starter on this team. And let's not forget, guys, Will Golston's not that great of a pass rusher. He did have 4.5 sacks this year, which is a career high. Sue had 6. So it's not like we're talking about a massive leap there. But the interesting thing is, if you do trade back into the second round, you can still get Logan Hall. You can still check that defensive tackle box, and you might even get a more versatile player with Logan Hall because he can fill in for Will Golston at the 5 or Ndamukong Suh for the 3. He does bring some pass rush ability. He's long-limbed. I'm thinking too, and he actually had more sacks in college than Devontae White did.
Next year's a better draft class for defensive tackles. It's shaping up to look like that. So you potentially get your Will Golston replacement this year, and then you go back and getting your suit replacement. But Matt, what are your thoughts on Logan Hall? What do you think about that strategy? Is to move back, grab your DT, and then
Well, what I was going to say is, what does Todd Bowles love more than anything else is versatility. Because Todd Bowles can get so creative with it. I like to call Will Golston the amoeba because he can do a little bit of everything for this team. He's been through different defensive coordinators. He's played in a 4-3 defense. He's played in what is now the 3-4 defense for the Bucs. So if you bring in Logan Hall and you're essentially getting another Will Golston, I don't have any issue with that at all, especially if they're considering trading back and adding up a couple of other picks. I do think defensive tackle is, and Jason Licht actually talked about this too, where I don't want to move on from Ndamukong Suh yet, because Jason did say today as well that, hey, we've signed veterans after the draft too. So he was kind of alluding to that a little bit, that, let's not completely shut the door on Ndamukong Suh. He obviously wasn't thrilled about it when we asked him about it in West Palm Beach at the owners meetings, but things change day by day and week by week as well too. But I do think defensive tackle is one of those positions where the Bucs certainly do have to get a little bit younger at and find those successors to Ndamukong Suh and to Will Golston. Of course, like Steve McClendon is up there in age as much last year too. So it's almost crazy to think that in a year or two, Vita Vea is going to be the seasoned veteran on this defensive line. When
I know
he's just still seems like, a young player.
Nacho's got 1 year left too. So, if you don't re-sign him, and he's been a solid contributor. And for Vea when he went down 2 years ago, but you got to you have to look at getting younger. And I think Logan Hall does mimic kind of that Will Golston lunch pail player, does the dirty work, doesn't get a lot of recognition, but it's an integral part of your team. So
I'm kind of thinking literally right on the spot here. I think Logan Hall is actually, because of the versatility you guys mentioned, he almost seems like a better fit than Devontae White. Listen, I like Devontae White. I watched a ton of Georgia. Thought he was the second best defensive tackle. Jalen Carter was better. I thought that the sophomore, number 88. Wyatt's okay. I just get hung up on 4'7", 304 pounds, 6'3". I get all that. You're twitchy, you're athletic. Where's the production? Where was the production?
Right.
That matched that athleticism. 2.5 sacks out of somebody that you're drafting in at number 27. That concerns me, because
that's the story with this Georgia defensive line, right? You look at all the way to Travon Walker to Jordan Davis. Where's
Devontae Wyatt was the sixth. There were 6 guys that had more sacks than Devontae Wyatt last year at Georgia. That just concerns me a little bit, right? You look at Logan Hall. I think he had 7 last year for Houston. Again, SEC football is different than the AAC. I get that. Okay, I'm just saying. We've kind of talked about this, right? The Bucs want to trade back, and you can do that and still get Logan Hall, I think, later in the first round, number 32, whatever, or just inside of the second round. And you can pick up more of those premium draft picks in the middle of the draft this year, maybe an extra 3rd or 4th round pick or 5th round pick.
Yeah, if you want to stay in the first round, say Detroit wanted to move up before, because Kansas City's got 2 first-round picks.
Right.
Second round, maybe they want to move back and whatever, pick up more or move around the board. If Detroit wants to move up to that 27 spot for a quarterback, maybe Ritter's there. I doubt it, but maybe, they infatuated with it. Whatever. They have a extra 3rd and maybe a 5th round pick, that compensatory 3rd and a 5th round pick. That could be the package right there. And you pick up more pieces. You get a good player in Logan Hall, still get a 5th year option on him, replace that 5th round pick and pick up an extra 3rd. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. I'm sure Jason Licht has gotten on the phone and spoken to Grant Stewart a little bit about it.
That's right.
Right. Yes.
No doubt about it. Well, listen, folks, whoever the Buccaneers end up picking in the draft with the first pick, when it comes to food, especially, and food and sports, the number 1 pick really should be beef or Brady's.
You want beefy? Nobody out-beefs beefs. Try the old Brady Burger, made with premium Angus perfectly seasoned and topped with melted provolone. It's an all-star, just like that other Brady in town. And if you're tailgating, you might want to pile on Beef's award-winning wings, too. Traditional or boneless in whatever sauce or dry rub you crave. Dine in, to go, or even catering. Play it your way. See you at Beef's.
Folks, when it comes to food, and good sports, the place to go is Beef with Brady's. Now, when you're getting geared up for the draft weekend, make sure that you call ahead and you can do to-go orders, or you can do catering for your big draft weekend party at Beef with Brady's. Wings, Angus burgers, and if you dine in there, they got a great selection of beer. So make sure that you keep Beef with Brady's top of mind for your place to go when you're looking for good food and good sports. Beef with Brady's, 45
locations in the Tampa Bay area. I don't know the rest of the pitch.
I think we lost Scott there.
Well, there's 45 locations in the Tampa Bay area. Beef with Brady is absolutely delicious. The wings are amazing. That's
multiple. Yeah, that's a good spot there. Yeah, but Beef with Brady's, as you just said, multiple different spots. I've been there a bunch of times. There's anywhere in Tampa really that you want to go to. You can make sure that there's one that's not
right.
far away from you.
I judge a place on three things: their burgers, their fries, and their wings. And Beef with Brady's passes the test on all three of them. And it's funny, Jason Licht, was asked, what do you do when, you're waiting for a later round pick? You haven't been doing it. He's like, a lot of eating. And, maybe he's getting some Beef with Brady's there. I don't know. But I know, hey, maybe we'll get some Beef with Brady's while we're sitting there waiting for the draft, Bucs to come on the draft. And who knows? But I would definitely recommend you guys get some Beef with Brady's for the draft.
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't have plans yet, make sure you go there, get the wings, get all the deals that they have going on there, and you won't be disappointed. Hey, and we got SR back, and we got the beautiful Beef with Brady's burger back on there.
It looks, my stomach is rumbling right now after looking at that.
I started cramming a Beef with Brady's burger in my mouth, and then the internet went down. So yeah, make sure you attend a Beef with Brady's 45 locations in the Tampa Bay area. So if you're looking for good sports and good food, that's the place to go.
All right, there was another thing that Jason Licht spoke about today that I think was of important notice. It tends to get the fans riled up a little bit. We're talking about the Bucs secondary. Before that, though, I do want to just say shout out and thank you to Tom, $5 donation. Super chat again. Thank you so much. He said he's talking about the GM reference that Scott was talking about before. He said McKay lied about having the franchise tag from 1998 through 2004 when we lost it from the Cheedy contract. Scott, if you want to comment on that, you can. I just want to say thank you for the super chat.
Cheedy's somewhere commenting on it right now on Twitter, I'm sure. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, Cheedy Hanatu likes to comment on that. I mean, that it happened a long time ago. It was 1998. Yeah, that was a long time ago. I kind of remember it, but I kind of don't. So we'll move on.
Fair enough. Anyway, so back to the current day GM, Jason Licht. He was asked about just his views overall on the secondary, the defensive back room. It's a big year for a lot of guys. Mike Edwards in the last year of his deal, Jamel Dean and Sean Murphy Bunting on the last year of their deals as well, too. Just an overall outlook of it. And he really said the biggest thing more than anything else is that the Bucs back there are healthy this year. That was the huge difference from the year that they won the Super Bowl in 2020 and everything that we saw last year. Just so many of the top guys in the secondary lost so much time due to injury, starting with the first half of the first game of the season when the Bucs played Dallas. I just want to play the video real quick of what Jason had to say.
Well, we're healthy. So right now we're healthy. So we want to plan to keep it that way. And we had a lot of these young guys play very well 2 years ago when we won the Super Bowl. And I don't think that talent just went away. So we're healthy now. We've added players like Logan Ryan, Keanu Neal that we're excited about, bringing some veteran leadership back there. And I think we're in good shape.
Yeah, you look across the board in terms of like the impact guys for this team: Carlton Davis, Jamel Dean, Antoine Winfield Jr., Mike Edwards as well too. So many of these guys, even Jordan Whitehead too. He's no longer on the Bucs, but anyway, a lot of these guys missed 3+ games. So we're talking about a significant amount of time. Now the Bucs did address this so far in this offseason where they brought in Keanu Neal, who does have an injury history, but again, we're just talking about depth in general. Logan Ryan as well too. So I feel like just the secondary in general is a bit of a divisive place among Bucs fans.
Yeah.
Especially Sean Murphy-Bunting. I think a lot of us are low on him. I'm still pretty optimistic about Jamel Dean when he's fully healthy, as Carlton and Jamel as the 1-2 punch at corner for this team. But just guys, your overall thoughts on what Jason had to say. Do you agree? Do you all your thoughts about it?
I'll start it. I'll just say this. I kind of was thinking that this team needed to bring in a cornerback this year because Jamel Dean and Sean Murphy-Bunting and Logan Ryan, those three guys are all on a contract year. Logan Ryan obviously signing for 1 year, and then you've got Dean and Murphy-Bunting in the last year of their rookie deal. So you'd want to get another cornerback in there to compete for depth with the Ross Cockrells and D. Delaney's, right? So you've got some, and plus you have another guy in the hopper. So if Sean Murphy-Bunting or Jamel Dean, one of those guys or both aren't re-signed, you've got a guy that already kind of is ready to go. But then I'm thinking, and I think that they don't want to spend a premium pick on a cornerback because that player is going to sit behind Sean Murphy-Bunting, Jamel Dean, Carlton Davis, right? And then if those three are healthy, that player is not going to see the field. I also go back to the fact that Todd Bowles is not afraid to start a rookie, right? We saw Sean Murphy-Bunting as a rookie lead the team in interceptions with 3, including a pick 6 at Detroit. We saw Antoine Winfield Jr. start as a rookie. I'm talking about just the secondary. You're right, Matt. Winfield started as a rookie. Sean Murphy-Bunting started as a rookie. Jamel Dean played as a rookie. So I think that Jason Licht and Todd Bowles want to give those players, the starters, Dean, Davis, obviously Davis is set, right? But Dean, Davis, Sean Murphy-Bunting as the starters, maybe with Logan Ryan pushing Sean Murphy-Bunting, give them the opportunity to either rise to the occasion or
put up or shut up.
Just put up or shut up and just fall off. And I think if they're healthy, they can do that. But the flip side of that is, JC, I don't think that Todd Bowles next year, if they have to draft a cornerback in round 1 or round 2, he's afraid of starting a rookie next year. So maybe they just wait until next year and say, if we need one, we'll draft one then.
See, it makes me nervous. And
I'm nervous too, but I'm just saying Todd Bowles, though. I think he's got some confidence to go down.
I know. And the whole health, they're healthy now. Great. We saw how quickly that can change. And you're bringing in Richard Sherman and D. Delaney and Pierre Desir.
Yeah, Pierre Desir.
Like these guys, you're trying to get Cockrell in there as well and get him some playing time. But I said this last night in the group chat, guys. I have this really eerie feeling that if the guys aren't there, and because there's so much value in the middle rounds, nobody wants to trade up. I don't even want to put it out like in words into existence. I put it in text, but I think that Kaiir Elam, I really see him in play at 27. I don't love it. I don't like it, but
he's not a tackler. He's allergic to tackling in the run game, and that I would be shocked if Kaiir Elam is a pick of 27.
Plus, the Bucs already have some issues with guys tackling the secondary. Like Carlton, great shutdown corner, not the best when it comes to tackling. Mike Edwards, playmaker, missed some tackles, last season, especially in the playoffs too. So I think that's definitely a guy that already isn't known as a tackler. That's something because of their issues that they want to stay away from.
Throughout the process, Elam has been compared like strictly to Carlton Davis. Mm-hmm. And does the fact that he's not like a lockdown, he's not a good tackler, to have 2 perimeter lockdown corners, does that sway their mind? Like we could have 2 lockdown guys. Like who's going to be able to pass? This is a passing league. We got 2 lockdown guys on the outside. Like I don't know how much that like gets like them jacked up over the, we can teach tackle. Coaches are always the one that can fix everything.
Fair point.
teach everything that can new. Well, yeah, he just didn't learn the right technique from that guy, but we've got, some of the best guys here that can teach them this. So I don't know. I just have this super eerie feeling. I don't want it to happen.
There's two parts to tackling, though. There's want to and technique. And the first one is want to. And I'm not sure if Kyrie Elam wants to. I haven't seen enough of it on tape.
Cover man, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. But I just don't know if they're going to be rolling the dice on a guy like that. Whereas a Cam Taylor-Britt, to me, is a more complete corner, right? I think he's a better tackler. He's a physical guy, and he can make plays on the ball too.
Hey, I want them to wait. And me and Matt are on the same wavelength with the Caleb Evans from Missouri. We both like him. We both had him in our,
your guy. Yeah.
Our game plan. I've been on him since I found out Nehemiah Pritchard was going back to school.
Your other Auburn guy for next year.
Yeah, right. So I think you wait to the fourth round and grab a Caleb Evans and train, teach him up. He's got the size, he's got the speed, he's got the ability the Bucs look for,
and raw talent too. There's still a lot of the surface has still yet to be scratched on him.
Right. Grab him in the fourth. Right. Trade back. Grab him in the fourth, and now we're talking.
I think I remember now about Chidi Hanatu in this franchise tag with Rich McKay back in 1998. Tom Bucs fan, I think this is correct. I don't have any means of checking it out right now. I'm on the pod, but I think this is correct. I think the Buccaneers, they might have lost the tag for 6 years, but Rich McKay pretended that he had it still as an option. It rings a bell somehow, some way. I think that's true.
Good thing Twitter was not around then.
Oh yeah, no
the
kidding.
Bucs would have been absolutely roasted.
Callie Buck saying that's surprising. That's usually good with this Bucs history, knows everything. What's the old saying? I've forgotten more about Buccaneer football than you'll ever know. That's kind of true. I've forgotten more about Buccaneer football because
you're in draft. Old. You're in draft mode. You got your focus on the draft right now, not the Bucs franchise tag history.
Yeah.
We got a.
And I want to dispute this a little bit. William Butler.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the super chat again. Shout out for having the Haspula cover photo.
Absolutely. I don't think SMB is trash. I think he lost a lot of confidence. Obviously, we saw that confidence shoot up in the playoffs, and he made 3 consecutive picks in 3 straight games. And then the dislocated elbow knocks him out for 8 games, 9 games in the season. And
that's a nasty injury too.
It is.
That's not an easy thing to come back from.
Lost some of that confidence and that momentum that he was building. He's got an opportunity. He's going to get pushed hard by Logan Ryan, and I think he's going to learn a lot from Logan Ryan. So he's got to step up. I'm not 100% writing him off like most Buck fans are. I think there's still a sliver of hope, however small it is. But
hey, listen, he's in a contract year too, JC. Yeah. I've seen plenty of Buccaneer players when their backs against the wall, they're backed into a corner, right? Like they got to put up or shut up, to use your phrase. They rise to the occasion. So Sean Murphy-Bunting is going to have just as much of a shot to win the job as anybody in that nickel cornerback slot. And listen, we haven't heard any negative talk ever about SMB from Todd Bowles. I think Todd Bowles is really in SMB's corner rooting for the guy. I just think that's one of those guys. Come on, let's go. Let's do this. Let's become the guy, right?
You can see it there. Just never.
I believe Todd likes to use young pup a lot with not just SMB, but with the whole cornerback group. And that's another way of saying, like, all right, there's been some mistakes, but he's still learning.
He's just a young
like
pup.
That.
He's got to get going and
but I agree with
the
you,
program
though.
And
he's definitely been
plays for us.
He's definitely been supportive of Sean Murphy-Bunting because he's been asked about, for sure. And but it does try to help him out as much as he can.
Yeah. Well, speaking of help, and listen, guys, I'm going to play a video for you, and you know what video it is, and you know where we're going to go after this video.
At A-Muni Financial, we help you live in the now.
Congratulations. We're so happy for you.
Thank you.
And even though the now may feel very different, you still need to plan for the future.
How's retirement treating you? Oh, just fantastic.
I know I say it all the time, but you really got to come up to Colorado.
Let's do it. All right.
Yeah. We can help you develop that plan to keep you on track so you can still prepare for tomorrow, today. A-Muni Financial. Plan ahead, stay ahead.
Matt, JC, got to get to Colorado, man.
Have to get there sooner rather than later.
Well, yeah. And listen, the folks at Immuni Financial can make it real easy for you, right? I mean, retirement may not be around the corner, but maybe you want to save some money, right? You could save for a summer vacation. You can save for your kids' college savings accounts. You can save for your retirement. You can open multiple savings accounts and still have them be in your corner when it comes to legacy planning and brokerage and advisory services and their insurance services. With 40 years of experience in the Tampa Bay area, managing your family's wealth means more to Immuni Financial than just allocating your assets. Do what I did. Call Immuni Financial and help you plan ahead and stay ahead. Give David, Mark a call, 1-800-868-6864, or visit amuni.com. No, they're not going to help plan your trip to Colorado, right? They're not travel agents in that respect, but they're going to help you get the money that you need to enjoy your life.
To go on vacation.
Yeah. Exactly. Any other final words as we wrap up today's awesome Pewter Report podcast here on a Tuesday, gentlemen?
I'm just excited. I'm excited for the draft right around the corner. Talking to Light today at the pre-draft presser, and hearing him give us really no answers at all, and just kind of let our minds go. Tight end. He did mention tight end without it being brought up. Is that a position? I know John is stuck on Trey McBride at 27, and he's going to lose it if he does. But I really don't know. There's so many directions they could go in, and we didn't even talk about what you touched on in your Fab Five last Friday about them even trading up a few spots. There's been so much talk about trading back, or they have so many opportunities to do so much in this draft, and there's some really good players for them to get. And next week can't come soon enough. I'm excited to be there with the whole squad at One Buck Place, breaking down this draft pick by pick. And, we still got tons of good content coming out. So.
I'm a little afraid to ask what Britt's casual toy reviews are about. But to answer your question, yeah, we're going to be live all 3 days of the draft, presented by Beef with Brady's. So we're going to have a live draft show, just like the one you're watching right here, except it's going to be on Thursday night, Friday night, and then all day Saturday. So
for multiple hours. If you guys haven't seen it in the past, it's so much fun. Like we're streaming the entire time. Yes. Not many other people can really do that. Another thing I think is very exciting for this year's draft too, and we spoke about it with the corner position of drafting a guy this year at corner that could be groomed to be a potential starter or impact player the following year. I think the Bucs have that at multiple positions, not just corner. Again, like tight end, if Gronk comes back, Gronk's probably only here for one more season.
That's right.
Quarterback, I mean, you got Kyle Trask, but again, talking about a guy waiting in the wings. I think edge rusher Anthony Nelson's on the last year of his deal, so I think there's a lot of different positions where they could be drafting a guy for the future, defensive tackle as well. So many different areas that the Bucs can go with.
Exactly. Jason Licht said that today. You're going to be drafting with one eye on winning the Super Bowl this year and one eye for the future. That's the job of any general manager. Folks, it's been fun. We appreciate all the great questions and comments and the super chats today. We're going to be back tomorrow at 4:00 Eastern time for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. I'm Scott Reynolds. There's Matt Matera right there. Yep. There's JC Allen. Make sure that you are subscribing to our Pewter Report TV YouTube channel and hitting the like button on the videos. Helps our algorithms, helps us get in front of more Buccaneer fans, awesome fans, just like you, Pewter people. So for JC and Matt, I'm Scott saying out.